Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a sports betting perspective. With pro handicappers Alex B. Smith and veteran sports writer Jimmy Murphy. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Saturday, January 15th, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, ready to break down a Saturday card, one of the biggest Saturday slates of the season so far. 13 games, and that's in spite of the fact 3 have been postponed. It could have been a 16-game card if everything was still on as scheduled. But even with the 3 postponed games, 13 games still remain. Let's get to it. We have 3 of them starting this afternoon. We'll start with Vancouver taking on Carolina. The Hurricanes minus 215 rather, home favorites, minus 230 in some spots, 5.5, 6 the total, although it's mostly 6 right now, shaded to the under in this game. One of the stunning results of Thursday certainly was Carolina losing 6-0 at home to the Columbus Blue Jackets in that game. It was not very good at all. Carolina saying a chance to redeem ourselves. Rod Brindamore, we get to come back and get better. It was a rough game, and hopefully that's not a sign of things to come for Carolina without Jacob Slavin, who, of course, missed that game. And I talked about the significance of his absence for Carolina. He is their best defenseman, certainly all around, both ends of the ice, how dynamic he is, moves the puck well. Doesn't always put up huge numbers, but certainly defensively missing him. And sure enough, they give up 6 goals in that game against Carolina. It was a pretty bad game in front of Anderson. Anderson wasn't all at fault for that performance, but certainly the defense in front of Carolina, not a very good game from their standpoint. On the flip side, you got Vancouver that has now come back down to earth a little bit, finally, under Bruce Boudreau. And really, it's the same kind of problem that Calgary had. Remember, Calgary was playing well, and they got to test themselves against Florida, Tampa Bay, and Carolina in that 3-game road trip, and Calgary fell short, losing all 3 games. Well, Vancouver's on the verge of losing all 3 games as well. They've already lost to Florida and Tampa Bay in back-to-back games, and now they get an angry Carolina team after a 6-0 shutout loss in that game against Columbus. So tough spot here for Vancouver. I know you're probably going to get a solid effort from them here. They don't want to go winless here on this 3-game swing, but they're facing 3 of the best teams in the National Hockey League. And now they get Carolina in one of their worst performances of the entire season. So definitely a tough spot here for the Canucks. And you would expect Carolina to have a much stronger performance here in this game. I don't want to lay the price with Carolina, nor the regulation price is something. I don't like the regulation price all that much either, to be quite honest, going into this game here. I should point out, too, that the Vancouver Canucks have definitely been worse in afternoon games than Carolina. Carolina's been a little bit better in afternoon games, so it's worth that. The way I'm going to approach this is because I do want to be on Carolina some way after losing the way they did against Columbus, and obviously they've been terrific at home. Without Slavin bothers me, so we'll see if Vancouver can contribute. I lean to the full game over, but I'm going to stick with Carolina team total here. Over 3.5 in this one, which you can get right around even money, -1, +100, -110, depending on where you look. I do think you'll get to see them score 4 goals here in this one. Keep in mind, Vancouver gave up 5 to Florida, 4 to Tampa Bay, and now they start Jarro Halak in net, who hasn't played in a very long time, giving Demko a little bit of a rest. So I think it's a perfect situation all around. Carolina off an embarrassing shutout loss at home, facing a road-weary, jet-lagged Vancouver team with their backup, Halak, who's been hit or miss for the most part this year. So I'm going to go Hurricanes team total in this one. Alex, what do you think here, Vancouver, Carolina?
Yeah, we're kind of thinking along the same lines. I think Carolina's going to come out pissed off, and I think it's going to be pretty early. So I like the Hurricanes on the first period puck line at plus $1.25, laying that half a goal. Vancouver, they're starting to kind of settle back into reality after having that hot win streak. I mean, this is still going to be a team to worry about throughout the rest of the year. They could possibly be a fringe wildcard contender if they get another hot run going, maybe after the All-Star break. But right now, it just seems like things are kind of settling down for them. Like I said, still being on the end of this, the tail end of this road trip, and Carolina just having a absolute disastrous home performance too. If you would expect them to lose 6-0 anywhere, you'd think it would be on the road, not at home in front of their fans. So I think they're going to come out with a spirited effort early. So I'll go with the first period puck line.
All right, there you go. First period puck line for Alex in this one, and you can get that at a pretty solid price there. Carolina on the first period puck line, you can get -0.5, +125, +130 is what we're looking at that with that price right now. Another game that takes place early this afternoon, Nashville is in Boston, taking on the suddenly surging Boston Bruins, who have played much better hockey in recent games. Boston -155. Home favorites, 5.5 the total in this one with the Predators and the Bruins. I'm taking a shot with Nashville here, actually, as a road underdog in this one. I like how it sets up for Nashville. They had the same kind of performance Carolina did the other night. It was very lethargic, kind of flat. They did have 30 shots, but unfortunately, I don't think they were. A lot of them were as of high quality as you'd like to see. Buffalo gets the 4-1 win. Certainly, I would think the Predators will want to play a whole lot better here in this matchup against the Bruins. They lost at home earlier this year to Boston 2-0. It's not easy to go against Boston right now. 4 straight wins, I get that, but you saw Marchand get a hat trick against Montreal, Pasternak with all 3 goals and a hat trick against Philly. You worry about this being a little bit of a flatter spot for them. They've had these kind of moments throughout the course of the season, and especially for the Bruins when they've played out of conference teams. They've not necessarily been as good against teams from the West necessarily this year. So when I look at this particular matchup here early on, and plus the emotion and the excitement, I guess you could say, of Tuukka Rask and his big return and his season debut for the Boston Bruins in that game against the Philadelphia Flyers, certainly worry about that a little bit, especially with the fact that Boston has already confirmed he is not going to be back in net for a second straight game. It's going to be Linus Ullmark this afternoon getting the start for the Boston Bruins. I think with Nashville off a pretty humbling loss to Buffalo. I know they didn't play horrible, but you could tell they were just a little bit more lethargic in that game. You see them play much better, and I think they're live at this price here, +135. So Nashville, I'm going to take a shot here, road underdog price, +135 against Boston. And I think what's a favorable spot for the road team, maybe not so favorable for the home team. Alex, how do you see this one, Predators, Bruins?
I feel like this could be a close game. I know somebody already mentioned it in the chat, but I like the draw here at this spot, and you can get a pretty decent price. I'm seeing 335. That's one of the higher prices because we're actually kind of starting to see some movement with these draw numbers now. Where I think the lowest one I saw is 295, 290. So people are kind of catching on with this play, and this feels like it could be one of those games that's 2-2 or 3-3 after 60 minutes. Like I said, the hype and excitement with Rask, I think that's going to carry over for a while when he's playing, not necessarily when the rest of the guys are playing. So they're in good form, but so is Nashville. And Nashville, they want to bounce back after that loss against Buffalo. They want to get back on into their winning ways. So this could be I think a good pace back and forth game. But I like it to go to the draw at +335.
All right, there you go. And a nice price with the draw here with Nashville and Boston. Alex going to take a shot that this game gets to either overtime or a shootout here with the Nashville Predators and the Boston Bruins. All right, we got the Washington Capitals and the New York Islanders now. Another afternoon. This is the final afternoon game taking place here on this Saturday slate. Washington -130, road favorites, 5.5 being the total here in this game. The Washington Capitals have definitely had a tough go of it lately. They are in a full-blown funk and a full-blown slump at the moment. No doubt about that. 4 straight losses for Washington coming into this game. Overtime loss to Jersey, 5-1 to St. Louis, 3-2 loss in a shootout to Minnesota, and a 7-3 loss to the Boston Bruins in their last game, where they actually started out strong and 2-0 lead early in the game, and then the roof kind of caved in on them in that one. They've had 4 days off. We'll see if it benefits Washington here. The time off, maybe hit the reset button. This team desperately needs something to try to stoke them a little bit. They're actually only 2-3 this year on extended rest, so that's an important factor to keep in mind. On the other side of the fence, you got the New York Islanders, who have put together 3 straight wins from the end of last year going into this year here in January, the new year. So they're on a 3-game win streak. Buffalo, Edmonton, and New Jersey, those 3 victories. Solid win against New Jersey, considering they were coming off a 12-day layoff. So give the Islanders a lot of credit for that. Look, I'm not stepping in front of the Islanders here, and especially with the Capitals struggling. I mean, there's a bunch of players that have talked about this openly for this team. Barzal, Beauvillier, Parise, all saying, we know where we're at in the standings. We know we've got work to do, and we've got to start doing that work. As in, yeah, we've won 3 in a row, but we got to keep this up. we just can't get complacent and say, hey, we've won 3 in a row, everything's good. No, I mean, if they view themselves as a playoff team. They see themselves as a team, Alex, that COVID-19 has hit them hard. The schedule early in the year hit them hard when they had to start the first month of the season on the road exclusively while they waited for their new arena to be ready to go. And that set them behind. They feel now with the schedule balancing out, getting easier, and the fact that they're now getting healthier, they think they can make a run. And they're talking the talk like, we've won 3 in a row, but we think we can go on an even bigger run moving forward. So I think there's focus. I think there's an incentive here. This team thinks they're good enough to be postseason bound, and they know they've got serious work and wins to put up in order to make the playoffs. So that's incentive that I'm not going against. They're finally playing some good hockey, and Washington's not. And Washington's laying a price on the road. I get it. They've had some time off now to decompress after that ugly loss to Boston, but not with my money am I laying a price on the road with the Capitals right now. So it's a pass for me with just a lean here to the Islanders in this one. Alex, what do you think here? Isles Caps.
This is the other game that I like to go into overtime. I actually like this one a little bit more than the Nashville-Boston game. These two teams, like I said, in kind of different modes right now, but both, kind of fighting to get things back on track. And we've seen them play close games. You look at in the last 5 games, 5 meetings they've had, one of them did go to overtime. The other 2 were 1-0 finals. So these are 2 teams that just kind of seem to play. And we know how the Islanders, the style that they want to play when they have things rolling is low and slow, more defensive minded. Limiting chances, and you have to try to limit shot chances and quality shot chances when you're playing a team like Washington. So this is definitely one. If the only thing I would be looking at playing here, and I already bet it about maybe 30 minutes ago, it's the draw plus 315.
All right, draw plus 315. So that's draw for Alex in back-to-back games, Nashville, Boston, and also Washington and the New York Islanders. All right, the rest of the games are at night, although keep in mind the start time for this next game. It's 6 p.m. Eastern, so this is very early in the evening, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Pacific for Columbus and Florida. Florida minus 280, home favorites, 6.5 the total in this one. They're a wagon right now. Florida, an absolute wagon at the moment. They cannot be stopped offensively at this point in time. 20-3, the home record now for this Florida Panthers team. In spite of the fact that they're still having trouble just getting the crowds where they should be for a team of this caliber down there in Florida. But you hope at some point the fans in the South Florida latch on to how good this team's playing. They've been magnificent. A 7-1 beatdown last night over the Dallas Stars. Just embarrassed Dallas is essentially what they did. Made them look foolish, made them look silly in the defensive zone throughout that hockey game last night. Very impressive from the Florida Panthers. Now, they are only 1-3 on a back-to-back this year. But again, no travel. It's a second straight home game for them. How about Columbus trying to keep it up after a stunning 6-0 shutout over the Carolina Hurricanes in their last game, and a shutout for Elvis Merzlikins in net for the Blue Jackets in that game. So give him a lot of credit. He was very, very strong in between the pipes for the Jackets in that game. Of course, he's back in net tonight following that shutout. They're happy to have him because Daniil Tarasov and Jonas Korpisalo are definitely not quite the goalies that can give the Jackets the type of play Merzlikins can. Now, can Merzlikins keep this going? That's the question. It was a terrific start for him. He was very strong in net. But prior to that game, he kind of had some struggles on the road. Now he's playing a Florida team that right now offensively, they have not been stopped since the start of the new year. In fact, you can go all the way back to late in December, where 8 straight games during the 7-1 run, they have scored 4, 9, 5, 6, 6, 4, 9, 5, 6, 5, 4, 5, 7. Those have been the number of goals they've scored during that span, the Florida Panthers. They've been hard to stop. That is a grand total, by the way, of 45 goals in the last 8 games for the Florida Panthers. Think about that. 45 goals in the last 8 games. That's over 5 goals per game on average during that stretch here. Maybe he plays well again, Merzlikins, and if he does, I'll tip the cap to him and say well done. But Florida is in that same boat for me right now, at least with their totals, as Colorado. Whereas if you're going to keep their totals below 7 and you're going to keep offering these 6.5s or lower, I'm going to be compelled to keep betting them over. Florida is that way for me right now. Colorado is that way for me right now. And we saw yet another Colorado game go over the total of 6.5 last night. That's what I'm on here is Columbus, Florida. over 6.5. No confirmation in net for Florida tonight. It was Bobrovsky last night, but I'm hearing that Spencer Knight is probably going to get the start here. He's just been called back up. He really had been fighting the puck a little bit in his most recent stretch that he played with Florida. They're going to hope that he's back on track. We'll have to wait and see. But it looks like that Spencer Knight, he was backing up Bobrovsky in a backup role. 3.39 goals against average, 896 save percentage. Been a little bit of a sophomore slump, if you will, for Spencer Knight. Now he's going to get it back together at some point. I think he's too talented. There's too much upside. There's too much long-term potential for him. I think he'll be fine long-term. But right now, I'm still going to have to see evidence that he is going to put it together and play better in between the pipes. And even with the Blue Jackets' struggles defensively for the last month or so, the one thing Columbus has been able to do is score. They showed that against Carolina. This Shinnikov, keep an eye on him. I think there's a guy to keep looking at for goal-scoring props right now. He had 2 against Carolina. He scored against New Jersey. Igor Shinnikov for the Columbus Blue Jackets. He's only 21 years old. He's a very talented, skilled player. You put him suddenly with Bjorkstrand and a revitalized Patrick Laine as well, who has played well lately for the Blue Jackets. And I definitely think you're going to see Columbus score. And with all due respect to the Jackets shutting out Carolina Thursday night, let's see you do it again. And let's see Merzlikins do it again against a Florida team that, as I said, 45 goals in the last 8 games. It's pretty damn impressive. So I like over 6.5 here, Jackets and Panthers. Alex, what do you think here, Columbus, Florida?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're not going to see a shutout from either one of these teams today. This is going to be a fun game, and it's going to be a lot of scoring. 6.5 makes sense. I am going to maybe test the water a little bit and wait and play this in game and try to get a 6 just to be better safe than sorry. First period total, we can forget about that. That's already at like 190. I think I'm actually seeing some 2s pop up in some other places. So, because these are the 2 best teams right now as far as first period overs go, you could take a shot with a 2, but I would just feel better playing with the full game over. Try to get a better adjusted price at 6. I'd rather lay $1.40 with 6 than lay $1.25 with 6.5.
Yeah, good consideration. You just hope you don't get one of these damn games where it's like 1-0 in the first 2 mints or 1-1 in the first 5 minutes.
Which you can really have with these 2 teams. That's the way that they've been scoring. The pace has been electric early for both of these clubs.
Yeah, but that's always the risk you run, though. Of course, with waiting in game, you just take that risk, and you hope that maybe you get at least a scoreless first 5 minutes, and there you go. You'll suddenly see a great value price.
I mean, like I said, you're probably gonna have to wait like that, even 2 minutes in. Like if there's no score after 2 minutes, then you definitely want to jump in on that over. But 5 minutes might actually be a bit too far. So.
Yeah, exactly. So that's always, it's basically, we're taking a risk here that we're not going to see any action here in the first 5 minutes, but sometimes it's worth it to get the better price, and you just hope that's going to end up being the case here with the Jackets and the Panthers. So Alex is going to wait until in-game for some betting potential, and I like over 6.5 here, Jackets and the Panthers. By the way, I forgot to mention this about Caps Islanders. Like I say, I'm very leery of unders overall as a bettor, but if I were to look at that game from a total standpoint, I would lean under. Even after the layoff, an Islanders game still stayed under against New Jersey. I think they're going to be solid, and I think Washington really knows, hey, we got to wake up defensively. We gave up 7 to Boston, and then before they had a game where they gave up 5 to St. Louis. So you would think the Capitals are going to try to dig in a little bit better at the defensive end. So the under makes some sense to me, at least in that Capitals game against the New York Islanders. All right, so Columbus, Florida, I like over. We'll move on to Buffalo and Detroit. Detroit minus 160, home favorites in this game, 5.5 the total across the board here in this one. How about those Buffalo Sabres? Very, very solid win in their last game, 4-1 against Nashville. What was even more stunning is that it's the first good performance all year from Aaron Dell. And we didn't necessarily expect anything like that for a guy that's been just hemorrhaging goals left and right. He will be in net tonight for Buffalo, I'm sure of it, even though it hasn't been confirmed yet. How could you not? He gave you a 4-1 win on the road against a very good Nashville Predators team in his last game. You would definitely expect him to be in net. I'm seeing some, Demko, by the way, has just been confirmed for Vancouver. I do want to point that out. So the site that I mentioned, Allmark, earlier, seems to have been incorrect. Let me just double check here. Allmark will be in net Saturday versus Nashville, says Matt. Let's make sure we hunt this down. We don't want any conflicts. This has been happening a lot lately here in terms of Yeah, there's someone that's saying that, yeah.
Halak is on COVID protocol, so that change has just been made.
Oh, just been made. Okay, there you
Yeah.
go. So it is Demko. All right, for Vancouver here. And I still like the team total for what it's worth anyway for Carolina. It's not going to change my bet personally. I still like
Yeah.
Carolina team total over 3.5, but there you go. No Halak today. It is Thatcher Demko. Again, it was going to be Halak for sure. But now it will be a Thatcher Demko because Halak is in COVID protocol. So there we go. Just wanted to update that. All right, back to Buffalo, Detroit. Like I said, we don't have confirmed goalies here, but I would expect Aaron Dell after his best game of the year and leading the Sabres to a 4-1 win on the road against the Predators to be in net. Nedeljkovic has been confirmed as the starter here for Detroit. We got Detroit off a 3-0 shutout loss to the Winnipeg Jets. Very impressive game from Winnipeg. Hellebuck was solid in net. A team that had lost 7-1 to Colorado in the game before that victory against Detroit. So you kind of figured the Winnipeg Jets would play a pretty solid game. They did. Detroit will look to bounce back. Detroit's struggling, though. 4 straight losses entering this game. I'm taking a plunge here with I'm going to bet this one 2 ways. I'm going to look over 5.5 here because I'm not totally sold on Dell doing it again. But I'm also going to take the plus price with Buffalo because what if he does actually play well again? And the concern for me, Alex, is Detroit's not really lighting the lamp at the moment. In theory, this should be a spot against Aaron Dell where they can finally get some offense. But you look at the last 4 games for the Detroit Red Wings, they've scored just 5 goals in the last 4 games combined. So this team's really had trouble finding the back of the net. So the way I see it is Buffalo, if they win, it could end up being low scoring because Detroit's probably not going to score that much if Buffalo wins. And Buffalo, to me, I trust them at this price more than Detroit, struggling right now. Laying a number like this, this is Detroit laying a number like this is the Detroit Red Wings here we're talking about that are, minus 180 favorites in this game. And keep in mind the Buffalo Sabres in that 4-1 win against Nashville, while they're still banged up with their goaltending and Middlestat, Drake Caggiula, and some others are still out. They're getting healthier. Kyle Okposo's come back from an injury. Jacob Bryson, the young blue liner, has returned from a recent absence. Alex Tuck missed some time. He's back. He came back against Nashville. Dylan Cousins is healthy again. It's a Buffalo team that's getting healthier, and that was a nice win on the road against a solid Nashville team. And they've been close games with these two teams. I think there's very good value on Buffalo, even with Dell in net. But I'm also going to take the over in case we get the return of the old Aaron Dell previous to the game against Nashville, which is very possible as in this game. So I'm going to bet this one 2 ways. Buffalo is an underdog at a big price here. You can find the Sabres at around plus 140 to plus 150 right now, even plus 155 at DraftKings. Great price there. It's even pushing plus 160 in some spots. It's a very good price for 2 teams that are much closer to even than this money line price indicates in my mind. And I'm also going to look over 5.5 just in case we don't get a duplicate performance from Aaron Dell. And believe me, that's very possible. Alex, what do you think here? Sabres, Red Wings.
Yeah, I'm going with that full game over 5.5 because it is more than likely Aaron Dell in net. So, a blind squirrel finds a nut and a broken clock is right twice a day. That doesn't mean Aaron Dell's going to come back with another great performance. So I like the over here at 5.5.
All right, there it is, over 5.5, minus 120 with the Sabres and the Red Wings for Alex in this one. Toronto, St. Louis, we've got the Leafs here, minus 190 to minus 200. Massive road favorites here in this game, total 5.5 across the board, Leafs and the Blues. And both of these teams dealing with some COVID issues. The Leafs just are getting Mitch Marner and Pierre Engvall back, clearing the COVID protocol list. And just as that happens, they add Justin Hall, Nick Ritchie, and Andre Kasha to the COVID protocol list. So you get a couple back and you put another 3. That being said, that pales in comparison to what the St. Louis Blues are dealing with right now. A lot of key players that are out for them. Buchnevich, Shen, Parayko, Perron, Tarasenko, all of them out tonight because they are on the COVID-19 protocol list. So it is a very, very thin St. Louis team, especially up front where they've really been hit hard with these absences. So you're definitely going to see some changes in their lineup. You're going to see tonight, it looks like Barbashev, O'Reilly, and Kyrou, your top line, Saad, Thomas, Neal, the second line, Klim Kostin, who's been pretty solid at times, Oscar Sundqvist, Dakota Joshua, the third line, Nathan Walker, Tyler Bozak, and you're going to have to find someone to fill that spot, probably someone from the taxi squad. And then the blue line, like I said, missing Colton Parayko as well, one of their better blue liners. And look, first game without all of these guys against Seattle. Give them credit. They found a way to win, but just a narrow 2-1 victory against a slumping Seattle Kraken team. In that one, Toronto coming off a frustrating loss to Arizona, and it was frustrating because they did everything but score. They had a million shots, a million chances, just could not find more than that one shot from Austin Matthews that beat Karel Vejmelka in that game for the Coyotes. So I do like the Leafs to win. I would consider maybe Leafs in regulation. They are very much shorthanded and ravaged right now, the Blues. Haven't bet it yet, but certainly lean a little to the Leafs in regulation here. The one issue, though, is Blues have been lights out at home, Enterprise Center. It's just a question of, can this depleted lineup rise up and keep that run going? Don't sleep on the fact that they have a 13-game point streak at home entering this game, 12-0-1 for the St. Louis Blues at the Enterprise Center in their last 13 home games. So for that reason, I'm kind of gun-shy on the Leafs, but I absolutely do lean their way at least. In regulation, you can get a better price with that. Alex, what do you think here, Toronto, St. Louis?
Yeah, this game's going to be a pass for me because you look at the history with Toronto playing St. Louis. They have not done well. They lost 19 of the last 26 meetings. That's going back quite a ways. We're talking about, a lot of different Blues teams, some better than others. In Toronto, for as good as they've been throughout the years in the regular season, for them to still have that kind of a mark, that's saying something. So with that, and then of course throwing in the COVID issues for both clubs, I don't really have a good feel on this one. So it's going to be a stay away from me.
Nothing wrong with that. Stay away. And you're right. And the St. Louis home streak is very impressive. And at the point where, look, even against Seattle, they found a way to win. At some point, I think with who they're missing up front, especially, like these aren't just, depth forwards that they're without tonight. You're without David Perron, who's had a great year. You're without Vladimir Tarasenko, who's definitely been a resurgent player this year. Braden Shen, one of your better two-way forwards. I mean, you're missing three really key forwards. Buchnevich as well for the Blues, who's been obviously very solid in his first year with this team after getting him from the Rangers. So it's a lot of absences up front. But we'll see if they can overcome it. You're right about that series history, though, with the Leafs in St. Louis. This has been a tough place for them to win over the years. All right, we go to Dallas and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay minus 240. Home favorites, 6 the total, shaded to the under. The Dallas Stars, just their road record, it continues to be the anchor around their neck right now. It's just, for some reason, they have not been able to figure it out away from home. Another road loss last night, and a blowout one at that against the Florida Panthers by a score of 7-1. Tampa Bay has now won 2 straight against Buffalo and Vancouver, 4 of their last 5. So they've definitely played better hockey. Rick Bowness has gone to this well a lot. And at some point, do people get tired of hearing him rant and rave? But again, last night, very, very upset with his team, calling them out, saying a no-show in that game against the Florida Panthers, saying I'm sick and tired of losing road games. We've got to find a way to have better mental toughness away from home. He's right about that. How can you have the home record you have if you're Dallas and be just a completely different team away from home all season long? That's the way it's been. In terms of home road splits, there's no greater home road split right now in the National Hockey League than the Dallas Stars. The difference in their performance at home to on the road has been noticeable. It's been night and day. There's no question about that. And now it becomes a question of, can they figure it out? I mean, they're 14-4 at home. They're 4-12 on the road. That ends up being the question here going into this one. Back-to-back situation for the Dallas Stars after playing in Florida last night. They're 2-3 on a back-to-back this year. 1-2 after a loss on a back-to-back this year. It's a pass for me. I'm definitely not going to really get involved in this game too much. Total sitting at 6, but Dallas, after giving up a 7 spot, probably going to want to really tighten it up a little bit after just, really embarrassing themselves at the defensive end. You wouldn't have known Esa Lindell and some of these defensemen for the Dallas Stars were any good watching them last night. Klingberg, Esa Lindell, all of them had a miserable night, and the Florida Panthers made them look like turnstiles. It was ugly to see how porous the Stars blue line played in that game. Now, Florida, you got to credit them for making Dallas look that way, but still, it was not pretty at all for the Dallas Stars. They looked like they were standing still and just letting Florida make all these fancy dancy dangle plays with the puck all night long against them. So we'll see if they can shore it up defensively. I do think they'll play much better tonight, but will it be enough to win? I'm not so sure. I'm tempted by the big plus number in this spot after Dallas kind of got read the riot act, but I don't think I trust them enough. Alex, what do you think here? Stars Lightning.
Yeah, Dallas, they're going to want to play better defensively, but we all want a lot of things. That doesn't mean we're going to actually have it happen. So I like the over here in the first period, laying $1.25. I like the over in the full game at even money, getting a 6 here. Tampa Bay's just been hot right now, getting that offense rolling back again. And I think Dallas will be able to contribute on the scoreboard, unlike they were last night. I think they'll be able to get a couple more goals. Vasilevsky has not been the brick wall we've seen in recent years. So I like this first period over, full game over. I think we'll probably see about a 5-2, 6-2 win, but more than likely for Tampa.
All right, there you go. Like in a first period over and full game over, which in a lot of spots you can find 6 with the full game over, but DraftKings always coming through for us here. And we're not just saying that because they sponsor the show with THPN and the Ice Guys, but 5.5, you can find that with the full game total right now at DraftKings -120. So there you go. If you like the full game over, find that 5.5. I actually do like the over a little bit. If you can, especially if you can find a 5.5 in this one, that's when I'd be interested in it. Rangers and the Flyers. You've got New York -150, road favorites in this game. 5.5 being the total with the Rangers and the Flyers. This is an interesting one because of the spot here for the Rangers. They were on the West Coast through the California swing, playing, of course, Anaheim, LA, and San Jose in consecutive games. And of course, and actually they played Vegas before that. So really it was a 4-game road trip for the Rangers. 2-2 split, 3-0 shutout win against the Sharks a couple days ago. Now they go back to the East and they make this stop in Philly for a road game against the Flyers, and then they finally go home, and they will play the Leafs on Wednesday night following this game. So it's a little bit of that odd scheduling spot. And I remember, I think it was Carolina being in this spot against Philadelphia.
They
came back and won, did they not?
Mm-hmm, they did. Yep.
They did. And I remember they started slow, though. They had a really rough first period. This could be your Flyers' first period look in this game. That's the thing that stuck out to me. I will have a small bet on that. Philly first period in this game. Do I trust Philly for the full game against the Rangers? Hell no. No way. I mean, the Rangers are the better team right now. The Flyers are struggling, but Flyers got kind of not embarrassed by Boston, but they started slow. They did battle back, but it's another loss. This team, they've been bad. They've lost 6 in a row. I get it. It's hard to back them, but they really, really do have a significant little situational edge in their favor. And we remember that the Flyers pounced on a very good Carolina Hurricanes team earlier this year in an afternoon. This is a night game, but still in the same spot that the Rangers are in, where they were coming back from a California road trip, playing this one game in Philly and then going home. And Carolina was going home after that game in Philly as well, just like the Rangers are going home to Madison Square Garden after this game tonight. So I could see the first period plus price for Philadelphia being worth a look here in this game. And that's about it. As far as the total goes, look, I think the Rangers, yes, they still can score and very offensively capable, but with Shesterkin back, I'm not in a rush to run out there, Alex, with overs with the Rangers with Shesterkin back. And, we're going to assume that he's going to be in net. Yes, it looks like he's been confirmed. Carter Hart for the Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, he was absolutely magnificent against San Jose in that 3-0 shutout win, Shesterkin. And to think he was out for a period of time and didn't look like there was any rust, any, shakiness at all. He looked like he was totally in rhythm. He was seeing the puck well. He was on his angles. He was looking like the Shesterkin we've seen all year, even with the time that he was away. So not easy to bet an over right now with him in net. He has definitely been one of the best goalies in the NHL this year. He's played that well. But in the first period, I do have a small bet on Philly here because they really do have a little bit of a situational factor in their favor in this one. So plus price here, Flyers first period for me. Alex, what do you think here, Rangers, Flyers?
Yeah, this is going to be a live bet game for me, but I am going to kind of lead off and kind of tail what you're doing with the first period, but I'm just going to play Flyers to score the first goal at plus $1.05. Like I said, because maybe that, shakes things up. If the Rangers wake up, they can get a goal to tie it up. Then that way, I mean, if it's 1-1, you just push on the money line. No loss there, but I just feel like this might be, want to wait and see what kind of New York team we get tonight. Like I said, Shesterkin and that, feel more comfortable with him, obviously, than Georgiev. But the thing you want to look at is if they are going to lay an egg, then hell, you'll still be able to get a good price adjusted with Philly. If they, kind of show some effort early, but then they tail off late, you'll find a way to grab that 2-win game as well. So I just want to see what exactly I'm getting from this Ranger team on the end of that. Like I said, that's a weird spot being on the West Coast and then having to play one more game on the out East before getting it truly back home. So like I said, we saw Carolina lay an egg in that spot. Maybe the Rangers do as well, and but it's like I said, early is the way to kind of look at this and then see if things change. They make adjustments in the last 40 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. It's good in-game betting opportunity or type of in-game. It is a good game for in-game betting. Definitely, I would say that for sure. Anaheim, Chicago. Next up, we got the Blackhawks -150 to -160 in some spots here as home favorites at the UC, the United Center. 5.5 the total in this one. Anaheim, good game for me last night with Minnesota. Took them in regulation. Took the over as well with Minnesota. Anaheim last night, and the Minnesota Wild. Very impressive performance, 7-3 win over the Anaheim Ducks. They ended up chasing the starting goaltender, Anthony Stolarz, from the net last night, and Lucas Dostal had to finish the game for the Anaheim Ducks. And, of course, John Gibson's still out, so they're in a pickle tonight. You either have to start the young kid Dostal, who I think might have been scheduled to play this game anyway on the back-to-back, or you go back to Stolarz after he was pulled last night. So they're in a tricky situation here, the Anaheim Ducks. They've not been good on the road. I said that yesterday when we teed up that game with the Ducks and the Wild, 7 and 11 on the road compared to a winning record at home. That's not great. They're banged up beyond belief. The Troy Terry absence is significant. You saw the impact of that last night. Adam Henrique is out indefinitely still with the lower body injury for them. Sonny Milano, who's actually given them some really good minutes, good performances, and they've elevated him to a top 6 role this year for the Ducks. He left last night's game with an upper body injury, and he may not play tonight for the Ducks either. So they're dealing with their share of issues. So is Chicago. I mean, Chicago's got Kirby Dach, Dylan Strome on COVID protocol, Jake McCabe as well on that list as well. How long he remains there remains undetermined. Seth Jones as well for the Blackhawks. So they've got their share of absences here for the Chicago Blackhawks at this point in time. This is just a game all over the place. Slightest of leans to the over at 5.5 because, I don't know if I trust the Ducks defensively at the moment or their goaltending in a spot like this, back-to-back on the road. Chicago has kind of tightened it up, though, the last few games again that they've played. So it's just a small kind of lean to the over. I don't know if I'll get there with it, but that's the only thing I'd consider in this game. At the current price, Chicago does have the situational edge, but ain't going to see me interested in them at -160. I'll tell you that. Alex, what do you think here? Ducks, Blackhawks.
Yeah, I'm going to be going with the first period over here. I've been riding these two teams quite a bit now with that trend, and we saw it cash early and big for us yesterday. It was 3-1 at the end of 20 minutes. So, like I said, with Dostal, he was supposed to start already tonight. More than likely, he'll be getting the start again. So, you're talking about a guy who's playing, only supposed to play 3 periods this weekend. Now he's going to probably play 5 or more. And he's a decent goalie. His numbers in the AHL aren't that great, but also San Diego goals aren't that great either. So you have to kind of take those with a little grain of salt. But I think the Hawks will have enough to get some offense rolling here again. They've been playing some decent hockey. Lucky to get that win against Montreal the other night. That weird overtime goal. Thought it was going to get waved off and ended up counting. So I think this is going to be, like I said, more of a struggle spot for Anaheim, coming off of how bad that loss was last night. It's not, sometimes you always just assume, they might bounce back after a beating like that, but I don't think it's going to be immediate. And like I said, the goaltending issue there is obviously a big deal, and missing Troy Terry as well. That hurts with them offensively. So I like it just the first period over. I think things might calm down. So if the cash is 1-1 or 2-1, you might be able to get a great live under going as well. So that's something I'll have circled too.
Yeah, there's no doubt first period over was as easy as it got last night. And it's only -115 in most spots here. First period over tonight with Anaheim, Chicago. So you get a really solid number with that if you are going to tail what Alex is recommending here with the first period over. You don't get many of them at -115 type prices these days. There's no denying that whatsoever. So interesting to see if the Ducks will respond following a tough night that they had in Minnesota when they've been on a back-to-back. I do want to caution you one thing about Anaheim: 4-2 on a back-to-back this year, 3-0-1 off a loss on a back-to-back this year. So it's another reason why Chicago, don't lay the price with them tonight. That's a dangerous one.
Well, and the thing with that is, that was also, we're talking about the combo of Gibson and Stolars. And Stolars has been one of the better backups
Yeah.
in the league this year. So that's really kind of the reason for that number. Like I said, when you take Gibson out of the equation and Stolars getting run last night, that makes things a lot different.
No question. And now Stolars is, having to play quite a bit because of the absence of John Gibson. So that's changing the way things are shaking out for the goaltending a rotation, if you will, for the Anaheim Ducks in recent games. All right, we're going to pause just for a second before we get to the last 4 games on the Saturday card. And we'll also throw in tomorrow's lone Sunday game, Vancouver and Washington. There will be no Ice Guys show tomorrow. There's only one game, and we will talk about that one at the end of today's show. So we'll take tomorrow off and then come back on Monday. And Monday, it looks like, as of right now, barring any postponements, we'll have 8 games coming up on Monday. So Monday's card looks like it'll be a pretty good one. So no show tomorrow, but we'll talk about the one Sunday game after the Saturday card. In the meantime, we want to let you know, of course, about DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NFL and the NHL. The NFL playoffs start today. They're here. DraftKings Sportsbook is kicking things off with a huge offer, counting down to Super Bowl 56. New customers can get 56-1 odds on any wildcard team to win their game this weekend. You bet just $5 on that team, and you can win $280 in free bets if your team wins. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state, you can still play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy football contests. DraftKings giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN and get 56-1 odds on any NFL team. Bet just $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code THPN. This wildcard weekend, today, tomorrow, and Monday at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years of age or older. Must reside in a DraftKings Sportsbook state. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings app. Sign up for an account. Use the promo code THPN. All right. It is... let me just, Terry Edelman's asking a good question in the chat. Will the show be, no, the show's still going to be 2 p.m. Eastern on Monday. Still going to be the same time.
If we like anything in that Buffalo Detroit game that starts at noon, I think it's like 1 Eastern or whatever, we'll just tweet it out.
We will. We'll tweet it out definitely on the show. So Detroit and Buffalo, because it's a rematch, actually. They're playing in Detroit tonight and they're playing in Buffalo. The bottom line is, I'll tell you, I'll give you an analysis today, right now, actually, with that game. If it's Dell, we're going to look at the over, probably. That's the way we're probably going to look at that game, Detroit, just like we're doing tonight in the game with the Sabres and the Red Wings. That's our lean right now for 2 days from now with that Detroit and Buffalo game. And you know what I'd probably do? These are 2 teams that are interchangeable, Detroit and Buffalo. Whoever loses tonight, maybe you back them on Monday.
Yep.
You can look at that because I don't think either team's good enough to beat the other 2 in a row. That's the way I see it, especially without inconsistent and up and down they've been all year. So those could be the angles I look at in that Monday game. Bet the loser of tonight's game in that Monday rematch, Red Wings and Sabres. And if Dell's in net, maybe bet the over as well. So there you go. There's your analysis for 1 p.m. on Monday. Analysis on the fly right here for 2 days from now, right here on the Ice Guys. All right, let's rewind the clock and turn back to Saturday now because we've still got 4 games left. We'll go to Colorado and Arizona next. We've got Colorado minus 400 road favorites, 6 the total in this game. Obviously, this price pales in comparison to last night, this game being in Arizona, so Colorado still not as favored as they were last night, which was minus 700. And Chris Otto on Twitter said they were minus 760 in some spots. At the opening puck drop last night against the Arizona Coyotes. And if you laid that just astronomical price with Colorado, and you're one of those bridge jumpers out there, as Paulie Howard says, you were definitely holding your breath down the stretch of that game. That's a subtle reminder, at least for me, if not for you guys. Don't ever lay minus 700 in an NHL game. Just don't do it. I mean, it's still a league of professional hockey players, the best the world has to offer. Even the absolute worst teams in the National Hockey League can win on a given night and compete. We already saw Arizona knock off Toronto earlier this week. We saw the Coyotes battle Colorado very tough. And the one thing Arizona has shown recently, Alex, is a great deal of fight, a great deal of battle. Are they a good team? No, of course not. They're 8-27. But what they have done in the last few games, they lose in a shootout to Colorado. They beat Toronto. They lose by 2 to Nashville, and they were competitive in that game. They beat Chicago 6-4. They lose 3-1 to Winnipeg, but it was an empty net goal for the Jets that sealed it. They were right in that game. They lose in a shootout to San Jose. They beat Anaheim in overtime. They lose by a goal to the Rangers. The point is, they've been right there in every recent game, the Arizona Coyotes. They have not been blown out. They have not been humiliated. They have been ultra competitive. So, if you took the puck line with Arizona, you could have taken them +1.5, +2.5. I mean, you could have gotten even a plus price at +2.5 with the Arizona Coyotes last night, and obviously would have cashed it with relative ease. I'm actually, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about at least a puck line bet here on the Arizona Coyotes tonight. Probably, obviously not money line. I'd want, to be safe because I don't know if they win, but you can get +1.5, +135 with the Arizona Coyotes here on the puck line. They're at home. They lost a tough one last night. Colorado on the road. We saw them lose to Nashville earlier this week. They haven't exactly been dominant on the road. Let's not forget Chicago, the road game before the Nashville game. They won in overtime, 4-3. Chicago played them toe-to-toe, and Colorado has had difficulty winning games by margin lately, especially on the road. And then you look at Arizona, they've not been a team that has lost games by margin recently. So I kind of like this puck line here, +1.5 at around +135 here with Arizona. And you're right, a big reason why they've played better. Clayton Keller's been magnificent lately, no question. He has picked it up for the Arizona Coyotes. They need him playing that way routinely. That's someone they need to count on, especially with who they're without this year, especially because a lot of their other offensive pieces have kind of underachieved to this point in the year. And the person I'm thinking of specifically is Phil Kessel. I know he's got 25 points, but only 5 goals. You need more, I think, goal scoring from him. But Keller's been good. 13 goals, 14 assists, 27 points in 35 games this year for the Coyotes. He has scored a goal, I believe, for the Arizona Coyotes in 6 of the last 8 games. So he has been very good lately. You could even look at a goal scorer prop for Keller in my mind tonight. Definitely something worth a look. +1.5 with Arizona is tempting. I'll probably have a small bet on that. A good point in the chat. Landeskog is expected to return tonight for the Colorado Avalanche. Of course, he's been in COVID protocol for the last couple of games. He's been cleared after missing the last 3 games. So Gabe Landeskog will be back for the Avalanche tonight, which means that top line should be intact tonight and back together again. So I'll have small bet on Arizona puck line, but I'm going to go over 6.5 for sure. I said it yesterday. I said it in the Nashville game, the Toronto game, every recent Colorado game. If the totals are going to remain 6.5 and these totals are still going to keep going over like they have been, I'm going to keep betting them. And that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Colorado, Arizona over 6.5 tonight. Alex, what do you think here with the Avs and the Coyotes?
Well, pretty much the same concept with Colorado and Florida. I'm going to wait in game and try to get first period over and full game over. I did that last night with the first period over. It was as high as 190 before puck drop. It dropped down to about 145 before we got the first goal. So that's still pretty high, but that's within my threshold. Especially like I said, with these two teams, the way they're scoring, it's not so much about you're not going to get a plus price. So you can forget about that, but you just want to get a better price, limit the damage in your bankroll in case it loses. So first period over, and full game over, but grab those in game, wait about 2 or 3 minutes. And it was about maybe 7 minutes before we saw the first goal last night.
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to be perfect for your situation and for what you're looking to do. If you get a 7-minute scoreless start to this hockey game, you're going to get a terrific in-game number at that particular point in time. And I think you might see that. This could be one of those games where first 10 minutes or so, it's actually pretty quiet, and then it explodes as the game goes on. You could definitely see that be the case here tonight between these two teams. By the way, it's going to be Karel Vejmelka in net for Arizona for the first time, of course, since that terrific outing against Toronto. But we remember what he did the last time. he had a terrific performance against Winnipeg. You know what happened the next game he started? He shit the bed. That's what happened. He did not play well at all. I think he gave up 7 or something to Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
It was ugly for
Yeah.
Vejmelka. And that's the thing with him. He's a young guy. Yeah, he's capable of playing great, but he has shown consistently after one of his best games of the year, he can't sustain it. You know, the shutout against Winnipeg, he gave up 7 the next time out against Vegas. Then he went into a bit of a funk starting with that game. So,
and it's not to say that he's going to be inconsistent for his career, but the thing is, they're going to burn him out. I mean, this guy's facing 45, 50 shots in the regular. I don't care. You can be the best goalie in the world. You're going to get burnt out at some point.
Yeah, again, the shot volume that he's got and the rubber that basically he's got to face every night is definitely a concern. Darcy Kemper will start tonight for the Avalanche, which is not a surprise. They saved him for tonight because, look, it's his return to Arizona. He was a former Coyote. Figured they'd give him that game, and he might play well. That's the one thing that concerns you for the over is that Kemper in Arizona starting here against his former team. You get a good effort from him, but he's been kind of fighting it lately too. Let's not forget he's given up 3 goals or more for 3 of his last 4 starts. To Chicago, he gave up 3. Toronto, he gave up 3 and got pulled in that game. And then the 5 goals he allowed against Nashville. So, you know, Kemper's not exactly been locking it down lately. So hopefully that's the case. We get this game over the total again with the Avalanche tonight. All right, Los Angeles, Seattle, LA minus 120, road favorites, 5.5 being the total in this game. I'm on the Kings here, Alex. I mean, it's just Seattle to me is just they're not winning. They're finding they're close. They were better. They've been better the last couple games. They've been a lot better the last couple games against Colorado and St. Louis. But at the end of the day, what do they get for their efforts? They get a loss. At the end of the day, that's all there is to it. 4-3 against Colorado. Yeah, they battled, but they also took advantage of an Avalanche team that was, you know, in between the game against Toronto and then playing Nashville in their next game, and maybe not their best performance against Seattle, and that allowed the Kraken to hang around. After that, we saw the Kraken lose to Dallas 5-2 in Dallas, where, of course, they've been absolutely terrific at home all year. And then in the last game, again, commendable effort. Competitive, nothing to be upset about or ashamed about. The effort was there, the work ethic. They were right in that game, but could not find a way, and they lose 2-1 to St. Louis in their last game. That's been Seattle, close but no cigar, in a lot of their games lately, and we're now pricing them at minus 120 here against an LA Kings team that I really like the way they're playing right now. 5-1 in their last 6 games. They beat Vancouver in a shootout, beat Philadelphia 6-3, shut out Detroit 4-0, beat a very good Rangers team 3-1, and beat a very good Pittsburgh team 6-2 with a third period onslaught against the Penguins. That was stunning to see that. It's like bang, bang, bang. The Kings with like 3 consecutive goals early in that third period the other night against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Very impressive with the way they played in that game. I like LA here. I lean to the over too because Seattle, continues to struggle to keep the puck out of their own net. And LA has actually scored 3 goals or more in 3 straight games and 13 goals in the last 3 games combined. So 5.5, this game I think might get its way over the total. And I like LA here at a short road favorite price, getting around minus 115, minus 120 in this game. Alex, what do you think here? Kings and Kraken.
Yeah, I'm stunned to see this cheap of a price of the Kings. Like I said, they're in much better form than Seattle right now. It's mentioned in the chat. Yeah, this is their first game on the road after being home for 7 straight. You don't always see them. That's not really like the reverse, where if it's a 7-game road trip and you come home for that first home game, you kind of want to stay away from. I think if anything, they'll be kind of charged up and geared up to be in somewhere different for a while. And playing a division rival, trying to get 2 points. This is an LA team we talked about. They're going to be scrappy like this all year, find these ways to win. And we're laying a decent number. I think this price is just off. They should be laying $1.40, $1.45 in my opinion. So we're getting some good value here. I'm going to go with the Kings.
All right, like in LA. Bonkiki, you make a good point. They aren't great on the road, the Kings. They're 6-8 on the road. I do admit that. I mean, a lot of their wins have been at home. But you're playing Seattle. They just can't win right now. They just cannot find a way to win a hockey game. And whether it's they don't get an extra save, they don't get it to bear down on a great chance they have, they're just finding ways to come up short. And look, their penalty killing hasn't been good at all, the Seattle Kraken. They have given up a power play goal in at least 1 in 7 of their last 8 games. That's not going to get the job done at all. And the Kings' power play has actually perked up lately. They've scored a power play goal 3 of their last 5 games. So special teams has really hurt. Penalty kill has really had a tough time lately for the Seattle Kraken. We'll see if their special teams struggles continue tonight. Speaking of Pittsburgh, the team that LA beat in their last game, Pittsburgh looks to bounce back tonight. They're taking on San Jose. Pittsburgh minus 160, road favorites, 5.5 the total in this one. Penguins, like I said, it was a third period onslaught essentially against the LA Kings against the Penguins the other night. Not a good third period. They weren't too thrilled about it. We'll see if they bounce back here. I like Pittsburgh in regulation here. You get this close to even money in this game. I like that quite a bit. Like I said with San Jose, show me a win against a good hockey team, and I'll be interested maybe in backing them. And that's been the issue for the Sharks lately. The last 5 wins, 2 of them against Philadelphia. They're in a tailspin right now. They beat Arizona in a shootout, barely. They beat Buffalo 3-2, and they beat Detroit in overtime 3-2, a Detroit team that's terrible on the road. Those have been the wins for San Jose. When they played better teams, look what's happened. They lost 8-5 to Pittsburgh earlier this month. They lost to Vancouver. They got shut out by the Rangers 3-0 in their last game. San Jose, to me, is one of those teams. They can beat up on the weak. I don't trust them to step up in class against some of the better teams in the NHL, especially a team like Pittsburgh that's not very thrilled about the way the game got away from them the other night in the third period against the LA Kings. So I expect the Penguins to bounce back here in this one. No projected goal, no confirmed goalies yet. Tristan Jarry projected. I would think they probably give him a shot here at a rare bad night, I guess you could say, the other night against the LA Kings, particularly that third period. There could be a Zach Sawchenko sighting in net tonight for the San Jose Sharks because, again, James Reimer is not available. They've been really riding Aiden Hill quite a bit, and I think looks like Bob Bugner, at least after the last game, hinting that he might give Aiden Hill a bit of a rest. And if we see Sawchenko, he's played 1 game in relief this year in the NHL for the Sharks. It was that 8-5 loss to Pittsburgh, where they pulled James Reimer early, and he ended up saving 20 of 21 shots in that game. But he has not started a game yet for the San Jose Sharks this year. So we might see Zach Sawchenko get his first start of the year here for the San Jose Sharks. But either way, Pittsburgh around even money, plus 100, minus 105 in regulation. That's the bet I like here. Alex, what do you think, Pittsburgh, San Jose?
I'm going to that Pittsburgh first period puck line. You can get that laying a half a goal at plus 160. Didn't cash in their last game, but they've still been on a 10-2 run where you got a San Jose Sharks team that has not scored within the first 10 minutes of the first period in 5 straight. So that definitely feels like it could be a spot where we see Pittsburgh, like I said, try to bounce back off of a bad game, get off to a good start early, and get out of that first period with the lead.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. Chris Otto has definitely been tracking that as well. The one thing about Chris is he not only gives you the first period, second period, third period totals, he's been tracking these streaks with all these teams as well. Puck line streaks, total streaks, and the Pittsburgh puck line streak in the first period has been very, very strong lately. Again, it finally didn't cash the other night against LA, and sure enough, they lost the game as well, but definitely I wouldn't talk anyone out of coming back to the well with that tonight at a nice plus price. Pittsburgh minus a half goal in the first period tonight against San Jose. All right, the final game from tonight's slate is Ottawa taking on Edmonton. We've got Edmonton minus 200, home favorites in this game, 6.5 the total, pretty much across the board in this one. I certainly would lean over the total a little bit. I also think Edmonton could win this game, and even with the struggles, they've been off for 10 days. They've lost 5 in a row. Of course, the Vultures were circling with that 5-game losing streak before their pause. There's no doubt, and they've had time to basically try to get their shit together, and we'll see if they come out flying here tonight against Ottawa. I like Edmonton here, first period puck line. This is a first period puck line for me on Edmonton. I think there's onus early in the game. Start strong. Jarek has pointed it out that the Edmonton Oilers have been brutal giving up the first goal, and believe me, I know it. They've been absolutely terrible in terms of getting scored on first. If they're ever going to shake that, it's now. They've been off 10 days. Figure it out. You're going through a funk. It's time to get your shit right and turn things around if you're the Edmonton Oilers. You should be full of energy with all this time off. And I think they've got the potential to come out here with a very strong start here in this game against Ottawa, who is, of course, on this Alberta swing. They played a couple nights ago, of course, in Calgary. Very impressive, but man, was Calgary ever lethargic or, played like a bunch of dopes, as Don Cherry would say. Dopey. That's the way the Calgary Flames played on Thursday night. They were beaten all over the ice to loose pucks by the Ottawa Senators in that game. This is the one time I'm going to take a shot. Edmonton first period puck line. They've been slow starters, but man, I mean, if you're ever going to bring some energy and get yourself out of this kind of funk you've been in during this 5-game losing streak, it's tonight. Full of energy. 10 days since you last played. First period puck line is about plus 125, plus 130 here on Edmonton. And I do like the over a little bit. 6.5. It's juiced as well. I just don't know what I'm going to get from our guy that's in net tonight. Stuart Skinner is going to be the starting goalie here for Edmonton. And I think Dave Tippett, he said this in his press conference. Stuart Skinner might be auditioning, believe it or not, Alex, to be the number one guy, at least for the short term, for the Edmonton Oilers. Mike Smith's injured again. What else is new? He's 39 years old. He just can't stay healthy. Body parts made out of cotton candy and plastic at this point in his career. And he right now is out for the Edmonton Oilers again. Mikko Koskinen, and is clearly the coach and the team don't have much confidence in him right now. And we heard what Dave Tippett said about the mistake he made against who is it? The Rangers game. He made that mistake behind the net, gave the puck away. It led to an early goal. He said it's a brutal mistake. You can't make it. So they're not exactly brimming with confidence about the recent play from Mikko Koskinen either. And he's kind of been fighting the puck lately. You have him struggling. You have Mike Smith injured. He is making it sound like that if Stuart Skinner comes in there tonight, Alex, and plays well in the net, they win this game, they break the losing streak. This could be Stuart Skinner's net for at least the short term right now moving forward. So that's going to be something to watch for. You know, they've called him back up. His numbers aren't actually that horrible. They're not great, but 2.7 goals against, 916 save percentage. And he actually did play a little bit better in the most recent starts he had in December for the Oilers. So interesting to see if he can take advantage of this opportunity. It's like Dave Tippett is saying, here you go, Stuart. You got a chance to prove yourself. You got a chance to kind of fix what's been ailing us in between the pipes. Let's see if he can get it done tonight against Ottawa. I still, have some doubts because, he definitely has had his struggles as well. But hey, Smith's been injured and inconsistent. Koskinen's fighting the puck. Can't hurt to give the young kid a look, and maybe he can spark something. So I'm on Edmonton first period puck line and also a little smaller bet over 6.5 here with Senators and Oilers. Alex, what do you think here? Ottawa, Edmonton.
Yeah, you made all good towards leaning towards back Edmonton here. If anything, I would be looking at probably playing adjusted first period over $1.50. That's sadly, that seems to be reasonable with some of these teams lately, but I think you can get a little bit better of a price waiting a couple minutes with that. Like you said, with if Edmonton continues to start giving up the first goal, and we know Ottawa can have their inconsistencies in net as well, so we can easily see maybe this is one of the spots with both teams to score in the first period. You can get a good plus price with that, maybe in the plus 150, 160 range. Might even just go with that instead of just trying to wait for a better price to lay with the first period over.
Good stuff there. Matt Murray was in net against Calgary. I was going to say he played pretty well, but Calgary didn't really test him as much. It's beyond, there's not enough words to describe how poor Calgary was in that game. They really were bad against Ottawa the other night. We'll see if Edmonton can be better. As far as the COVID situation, remember, this team was ravaged with it before the pause. But for the most part, like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins looks like he's still on IR with a lower body injury, not a COVID situation. So he's out. And it looks like in terms of COVID protocol, Benson and Warren Fogle may still miss this game as well for Edmonton. But outside of that, looks like everybody else is ready to go. They're going to have Puljujarvi, McDavid, Hyman, Draisaitl, Yamamoto. It looks like they've gotten through a large majority of their COVID issues that they had, Edmonton. So they should be fairly close to full strength, other than the guys they already had out prior to the pause. So, and look, they've talked about it. Got to start fast. We got to finally get the first goal. So situationally, it couldn't set up any better for Edmonton. Could they screw it up? Yeah, because they're not playing well going into this game. But I'm taking the chance that they have that strong start And that's why I'm on Edmonton first period puck line -0.5 here, plus 125, and also like an over 6.5 a bit. All right, before we wrap it up with best bets, the Sunday game tomorrow, the only Sunday game, it's Vancouver and Washington. Washington -205, home favorites at DraftKings right now, 6 the total, shaded to the over in this game. Of course, it's back-to-back for both teams who are playing a Saturday afternoon game today. Vancouver against Carolina, and of course Washington against the New York Islanders. So we'll see if these teams, who they have in net, obviously, going into this game on Sunday. It's going to be interesting to see who they go with. Washington, to me, is not a team I'm going to be looking to lay -200 with. Again, let's see what they do today against the New York Islanders, but they are struggling right now. Their blue line without Dmitry Orlov looked awful, and he is one of their better defensemen. I mean, they look terrible against Boston without him. Until they get him back, I do worry about Washington a little bit. We'll see how this one goes. Vancouver at the end of their road trip. Actually, it keeps going, believe it or not. They have one more stop in Nashville later this week, and then they'll finally return home to play Florida. So the longer this road trip goes, maybe a sloppy game tomorrow. Could see some goals, but again, let's wait and see how tomorrow goes. First thought is, even if this is a back-to-back for Vancouver, with Vancouver playing Tampa, Florida, and Carolina, as much as we love Ovechkin and Backstrom and Kuznetsov and Oshie and who they've got up front, Alex, you got to say right now, this is the easiest opponent for Vancouver on this road trip. This is an easier opponent right now than Carolina, Tampa, and Florida, because Washington's not on their level at the moment. So we'll see how the games play out today with these two teams. But initial gut reaction, because that's all we can give you right now with this game tomorrow, is Vancouver at the plus price for me. I'd be interested, if the circumstances are right, on maybe a shot with Vancouver tomorrow as a road underdog. Just initial thoughts, Alex, the Sunday game tomorrow, Vancouver, Washington.
I'd probably stay away from a side here, especially now with Demko starting because of lock on COVID protocol. I mean, you might see Spencer Martin in net for that game tomorrow. If anything, I'll probably be looking at the first period over here with that, because at least Washington, they're used to playing these day games a bit more than Vancouver. A back-to-back cross-country day game spot, and then you have a third-string goalie. So I probably would stay away from Vancouver for sure tomorrow. But if anything, I'd be on the first period over. So I'll tweet that out, and make that official if I do end up playing it.
There you go. So again, we're not locking in anything official yet, obviously, for tomorrow, but that one game. But again, we'll see how it shakes out. You're right. Demko starting today because of Halak having to go to COVID protocol does change things quite a bit for the Canucks. But at the same time, I'll say this right now. There's no freaking way I'm laying -205 with Washington. There's just no way, no how am I doing that right now. Team's lost 4 in a row. They've kind of lost their way. You can see Laviolette on the bench looks really pissed every single game the last few with the way this team is playing right now. So I would only lean Vancouver, but again, let's see the situation. Yeah, it could be goals, especially if we see a Spencer Martin sighting for Vancouver in net on the back-to-back. But that's the way we'd probably approach it there with the Canucks and the Capitals, the only game taking place in the NHL on Sunday. And that's a wrap. A reminder, no show tomorrow. We just talked about the only game on Sunday, so there'll be no Ice Guys on Sunday. We will be back on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Pacific. We'll be back with the Monday edition of the Ice Guys to get you ready for the Monday card. Before we wrap things up, best bets coming up. 130 live viewers on YouTube. Hit the like button. We appreciate that. Make sure you do that if you haven't done so already. It definitely helps us out. And hopefully we can help you guys out with our best bets for this Saturday card. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, let's go with the over 5.5 Buffalo Detroit, and you can get that laying $1.20. I'm seeing $1.17 in a couple of shops too. Like I said, Aaron Dell, okay, he had a great night. We're not gonna see that happen 2 times in a row. And even though this is a Detroit team that's struggling offensively, I think this might be the right goalie to face to get things straightened out. So we'll go with the over with the Sabres and Red Wings at 5.5.
All right, Sabres, Red Wings, over 5.5 for Alex with his best bet for this Saturday card. My best bet, I'm going to go Columbus, Florida, over 6.5, -120. Florida, just an over machine, kind of like Colorado. And as long as the totals remain 6.5, they don't hit that 7 threshold, which I'm waiting. Believe me, I'm waiting. With Florida, with Colorado, I'm waiting for a 7, because to me, if odds makers were on top of things in the NHL, we would have seen a 7 by now with both of these teams. They're almost getting to 7 by themselves in so many games right now, both the Panthers and the Avalanche. I'm not buying in Merzlikins. Merzlikins' numbers on the road are still pretty poor, even though he had a great shutout performance against Carolina. And look, Florida's lighting it up. I'm going to dare that shaky Columbus defense to play well for a second straight game. I'm not sure they can. And on the flip side, I think Columbus can score. Remember, if it's Spencer Knight in net, he was fighting it a little bit, not playing his best his last stint with the Panthers. And their offense has been pretty solid, even though their defense hasn't been prior to the Carolina game, and I think they'll find the back of the net. So Columbus, Florida, over 6.5, minus 120 for my best bet. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. We appreciate it. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, on YouTube, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Download the podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck, and the NFL wildcard games as well. And we will talk to you again on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.